You are listening to Radio Belvaspata, South Africa. This show is dedicated to those who live and love from the heart in infinite ways. In today's episode, we will discuss, share, gain insights, and get clarity on the wisdom and teachings of the mystic and seer Almin, as well as discover more about the miraculous healing modality called Belvaspata. Your host for this show is Paul.
Good evening, everyone. This is Paul on Radio Belvaspata, South Africa's show for Thursday, the 21st of September, 2017. The title of our show is You're Changing, Not Dying. But you didn't think we're going to have just one category, did you? Many subtitles coming up, also known as The End of Superficiality and the Arrival of Authenticity, aka also known as Living a Meaningful and Established Life, and aka Dissolving the Frequency of Death. What an interesting week we've all had. Really been fascinating, the insights, the amount of inner work, the amount of energy and time that we've had to put into ourselves. You'll know what I'm talking about, otherwise you wouldn't be listening to this show. Welcome to it. Welcome to our South African family. Just because of the time frames between the southern and the northern hemisphere, it's mostly South African family that listens to our show live, but then the northern hemisphere then logs on during the week in their own time frames, and they listen to the show. Our listenership is increasing from around the world. Amazing how many countries are actually listening to our show. It's really exciting to know that we can reach everybody, and that our light family is widening, and that we are all in that state of oneness. So for the next hour, let's talk about You're Changing, Not Dying. Let's talk about how we're going to dissolve the frequency of death. Let's talk how we're going to end superficiality of life, and how we're going to live and create the state of authenticity we're all working towards. And let's find out how to live a meaningful and established life. All through the teachings of the mystic and seer Almin. We're throwing a few more things in as we go. But first of all, some beautiful music from the seer Almin. I Yearn for You. It's her audio song on magic, abundance, supply, and manifestation. Spot on. See you on the side of that.
Angelic, to be with you. I wanna spend my days and nights just loving you. I love you the whole life. I love you the whole
In the ancient text of the Hamachta, the following statement can be found. Keshenit hatsu unech pri havat este. Vilerash innet savavish patam minuvi hasat ukle. No being can be known by the mind. All are gateways of the infinite, but ever-changing expression. Salvavit unech ach vavi pihavash isine. With humility, approach the newness of the moment. Beautiful, beautiful words from the Hamachta there, and we're going to get into some depth about that later on in the show. This week on Facebook, Carlos Imuin posted the most incredibly detailed, short post about the expression of the process he is experiencing. And I'm just pausing as I'm trying to explain what he wrote here, but let me just read it out to you, and in that way you'll know why I am not able to actually detail it, because the depth of his ability to write what he is experiencing is so profound, and I really am humbled by just the ability for him to put into words what he is experiencing. And he says, the more still, more patient we are when in the clutches of paradox and uncertainty, the more we are deepened in the crucible of self-overcoming. In the tempest of seeming, we become the recognized destiny within standing firm in the face of effacing stories passing by our screens of viewing. It is the spaces in between events in which we normally deem uninteresting and lusterless that are the fertile ground where we spawn our newly written self-genesis. I am an advocate for throwing one's bargaining chips and bags of tricks into the flames of chaos, thus establishing in the same instance of letting go a new order of being that hasn't yet a name nor a method. Doesn't that explain to you what we've really been discussing and working through over the last few months here on this radio show? Just that detail of creating this newly written self-genesis and then throwing one's bargaining chips and bags of tricks into the flames of chaos. And we letting go a new order of being that hasn't yet a name nor a method. We've been discussing this and detailing it. And thank you, Carlos, for allowing me to share that tonight. I just thought maybe our listeners would love to hear that. It would put into context for themselves everything that is happening for them. I mean, I know for myself that I have literally had to throw so much into this bag, this flame of the world of understanding that newness is coming up for me and that the old frequencies have to be let go of, and the only person that can let go of those in my own life and my own environment and experience is me. And it has been quite a huge process. So there are still some nights where, yes, I am filled with absolute terror as to the particular process. But that is all dissolving slowly but surely. And I'm just working through trust and trust and trust. I was saying to Nico the other day that it's fascinating for me is that I'm developing and just producing and creating this aspect of trusting myself in the cosmos, trusting the cosmos within me, just allowing all that alignment and all that integration to happen. And yet, on some physical level, I'm just looking at everybody else around me on a trust level, and I'm seeing so many different things going on there. And it's making me have to work on myself like never, ever, ever before. So the Seir Almin says, if you do not have glad expectations, you do not have the optimism that knows that you are manifesting your life. then the fake quality of death vibrations comes into the cells, even though you are immortal. My loved ones, immortality can be reached before you even reach resurrection during the level of Godhood. But it doesn't mean that just because you have it, you don't have the death frequencies in your body. Absolutely incredible. We read that out last week. It got posted up. It's to do a lot with the new seminar that's coming up in Russia. We'll talk about that in just a little while indeed. But we just like to remind everybody about the process of ascension versus resurrection. This is Almeen talking in her Pathway to Ascension course part 2 about the difference between the two. And understand that as we ascend and as we resurrect, they're not necessarily the same, but then we have to look at what is also produced within us as the journey unfolds. Let's listen to that, talk some more when we come back.
Let's take a look then at what is resurrection, because this is a little confusing to most light seekers when they speak about resurrected beings, and on the other hand, they speak about ascended beings. So we can define ascension even a little bit further by comparing and contrasting with resurrection, and then we will also take a look at how it compares and contrasts with death. Ascension is, in fact, the vibrating to a higher level of the physical body and the etheric, more subtle bodies of a being. In other words, they vibrate generally as we have understood it in the past, but I am going to show you that even that has changed. However, we've always assumed that an ascended master is not here in the flesh. Well, that used to be true, because ascended mastery meant that you vibrated the cells of the body. In other words, the song of the body went up an octave, at least. And so, as the cells of the body vibrated and went up one octave, the master, in fact, moved right out of here, taking their bodies with them. No longer in the flesh, able to come and go to the flesh as they wished, but they generally wished to stay in the ascended mastery realms. Not here amongst the milling crowd, not here in the throngs of what to them feels like confusion. As of February of 2005, the Infinite gave commands that ascended masters preferably, although they have a freedom of choice, preferably stay in physicality. It is imperative that physicality be archetypally representative of all kingdoms, of the ascended mastery realms, in fact, even of what lies beyond, which is the God kingdoms. So ascended mastery used to mean that you vibrate your cells with such a high frequency that it becomes invisible to the average eyes of man, and that you take it into higher levels where the ascended masters dwelled. They were also called the White Brotherhood, or the Brotherhood of Light, or the Masters of the Earth. They have come from all walks of life, from all different races, and from all religions, or spiritual paths for that matter. So, my brothers and sisters, if that is what ascended mastery was, now the only difference is that that master deliberately lowers his or her frequency, retaining their very large light. And of course, the subtle light is not always visible to humankind, but retaining their light and also keeping lower their frequency so that they stay in physicality. Now, resurrection, on the other hand, is something a little bit different. Resurrection comes when somebody has almost gone into the ascended mastery realms, but they didn't quite make it. Or during their final moments of life, they did such a glorious act that it raised the frequency of their body. For instance, in war where somebody self-sacrificingly and knowingly offers their life for others. This raises the frequency very high. In fact, there's a very beautiful scripture that says, "For no greater love hath man, but that he gives his life for another." Fortunately, the days of martyrdom are over. Our highest service now is not to die or to suffer. It is to live a glorious ascended life of majesty in perfect love and light. What happens when somebody gets that close to ascended mastery, but then they pass away? Well, there either is the grace of the ascended masters or the infinite that will assist that person to go just that one extra little notch, and then the body will rise again, even though it tasted of death. But there's another way that it is more generally done. That person resurrects themselves. And it goes like this. For the moment, understand that when death occurs, the act of recapitulation brings tremendous insights. Recapitulation is very commonly called by people as "my life passed before my eyes." In fact, it's often used in jokes when people said, "Oh my goodness, my life passed before my eyes." They are saying they came close to death. When the life passes before our eyes, we learn such perception. We gain such insights. We see how every joyous moment we lived contributed more to life than all the self-sacrificial work that we did. We learn a great deal about love and about service and about living our highest truth. We see things for what they are and what they were. And in doing that, light floods us with perception. And when that happens, if the spirit lingers around the body, in fact, the body can rise again and the spirit will go back into the body. And this is how resurrection takes place. As you can see, entirely different from the ascension, which will vibrate it up. The body never tastes of death.
You're back in studio Thursday, the 21st of September. I'm your host for tonight's show, Paul. Our title is You're Changing, Not Dying, and about 5 different, all known as or otherwise known as AKAs, and especially dissolving the frequency of death. So that was quite an audio from many years ago, 2012, I think. I don't have the exact date here, but I think it was from that particular point, from the seer, and really reminding us there that our highest service is not to die, and really how we've come now full circle to this point where we are dissolving the frequency of death within the cells of our bodies and the structures of our lives. And of course, where will this lead to? Well, we don't know until we've dissolved what we need to dissolve. We've done the work that needs to be done here. Highest service is not to die. I think that is absolutely incredible. But of course, there's always these underlying subtleties that goes on in these particular statements. And then as we discover them time after time, year after year, as we do the work, we discover more nuances, more subtlety about all of these processes. And every time I listen to an Almin audio, even if it's dated 2008 backwards, I find something absolutely new in it that I never understood or recognized before. So I'm grateful for that ability, and I'm grateful that I'm able to still continue this work within myself. Almeen was talking earlier about glad expectations, and I must say that's been part of my daily Almeen wisdom mantras which I have going, and it just keeps me on this process of understanding what the journey is about and not give in or really succumb to the issues and processes that happen on a day-to-day level. But we'll be talking about the physiological, emotional, and mental symptoms that are very, very current for many people in a little while. Do you remember a while ago, earlier this year, there was a audio or video on Almeen Diary where she said that the world has gone quite mad and what to do about it? Well, last night, we were driving to friends for some supper, and it was, wonderful just to drive, but the highways are incredibly busy. And, I don't want to say that South African highways or driving is any different to any other countries. We've traveled extensively, and I think every single country has their own unique way. And of course, everybody either slots into it and understands it and learns to adjust, adapt, or die. But it was fascinating last night watching how all the trucks are on the highway, because they're mostly driving at the night time now. Probably because the daytime is too busy with just ordinary traffic. But it was amazing how some people wrap themselves in a tiny little piece of metal, put foot to the floor, and drive at 100 miles an hour down a tiny little highway, and then start to squeeze in between trucks, weaving in and out and flashing at trucks and buses to get out of their way, as if they actually own the road. I just cannot believe what's doing. And then I was like, what they're doing, it's just like, are they wanting to die? And then I had to put some thought into this in today's show. And I realized what they're doing is they're doing death-defying acts. They're challenging death to take them on a subconscious level. So my eyes are open there, but I must say I prefer just to drive very defensively and protectively and be aware of what is going on. And then as I was working through all of this and our conversation last night about the madness on the road and the way people don't seem to be valuing their lives or the lives of others, then this post comes up in Almeen Diary. And the question posed to Almeen, it was about Atlantean end times, then and now. The question was posed, I live in a big city, but travel globally to other big cities on business. I've noticed people acting more and more irrationally. There's such a crazy feeling amongst people, even in the way they're driving. It feels like the city atmosphere scorches me. And Almeen answers, I feel it too, even without going to a large city. Our little town is also acting crazy, but at first I attribute it to the cheap availability and legalization of marijuana. Driving has to be done defensively, never knowing how others will respond. When I was teaching time traveling years ago to a group of students, we went back to Atlantis to the time before its last sinking. The feeling now is very similar to what I encountered there. Crazy, hedonistic living, drunkenness, drugs, and crime. The eyes of the people were empty and soulless and without compassion. The government at all levels was corrupt and the weather was disrupted. So my question is, what was the root of the problem then, as it is now? Number one, the cause of this drastic destructuring of minds, of society, of systems and family units, and the resulting fear and pain that people try to drown with addictions can be found at the end of large cycles or stages of life. The very largest cycle, which is the Tube-Taurus movement, of the combination of the three types of time found during the three large stages of life, ego identification, godhood, and resurrection, is changing as the way showers of life, this is you and me, are getting ready to evolve into the immaculate white light. This would pull all creatures into their respective next stage of evolution, and this would rapidly destructure the old ways. And the second, to create large but graceful change, principles of structure change need to be implemented and lived to provide guided fluidity. The same principles that were missing in the cataclysmic change of Atlantis are not being accentuated in the lives of way showers today. It's time to take our superficial understanding of the 300 Atlantean angels to the next level. Almeen says that she will start upgrading and preparing that information as of today. It will be available by the time of the Moscow retreat given by Rogier in October, which will be available online as well. So yeah, that's Almin is talking there about the dissolving of the frequencies of death in the cells, glad expectations and golden light. Dates October 7, 1428 and 2017. It was discussed in the Seer Almin podcast between Ella and Sergey, and they discussed the importance of this webinar course. Really, it's all about preparing the body for the reality of high magic. It's been a theme running throughout these webinars for the last year, or since at least January, as we stepped into high magic. And it's all about creating and establishing the foundation necessary for the evolution of our consciousness and the preparation of our physical and etheric bodies to create and transition to the reality of high magic and incorruptible white light. In that podcast, which is online, you can go look at it at Almin Diary. It's quite a long one, so please prepare some time just to sit and be able to listen to it. The topics that were covered in that podcast about the causes of stepping back into the third level of resurrection from the reality of the white light, and that the third level of resurrection is the foundation for the reality of incorruptible white light. It's all about death frequencies in the body and the 144 tones of glad expectations. There's examples of manifesting improbable events, and there's an example of dissolving death frequency in the body and rebirthing into a state of glad expectation. So lots of stuff coming up over there, and you are happily invited to participate in that upcoming course. I've given you the date, October 7th onwards, and I think there's still time to get the special offers on Almin Diary and on Spiritual Journeys if you wish. So yeah, let's look at the gifts of the angels that are coming up now. I just wanted to say that I found this today, and we opened up with the beautiful ancient text of the Hamachta, and I'm bringing it up for a reason, is that we need to understand the fluidity of the processes that are going on, and that as we learn to trust the journey more and more, our own fluidity opens up for us, and we fluidly step into the next role moment by moment by moment. Today I had the very deep realization, and again, it was something that I'd already known, I'd seen it before, but today I began to realize that time is just the unfolding of moment after moment of moment, and therefore we contain everything that is and everything that always will be is all contained in this particular moment. So a very powerful moment for me. But in this process of the gift of the angels, Almin tells us that for eons of existence, known to many cultures on earth, the exquisite beings of light, known as the winged ones or angels, have interacted with man. Their presence has been well established among humanity, but our knowledge of them has been elementary. In humanity lies the tendency to intellectualize and attempt to place life into boxes and categories that our limited intellects can grasp. This desire to control the unknown by trying to force it into the static compartments of the known has to be set aside if we wish to explore the beauty and grace of the angels. Life is never the same 2 consecutive moments in a row. Only in the physical does it seem to do so. And then, remember at the beginning of the show, I read out the ancient text of the Amachta, and the translation is that no being can be known by the mind. All are gateways of the infinite but ever-changing expression. And the second part of that, with humility, approach the newness of the moment. Not only do functions change as life does, but very often so do names of some of our most cherished archangels. These are, according to ancient Atlantean texts, 300 archangels representing groups of a myriad of angels who are like portals of infinite intent. Their purpose of allowing the infinite to manifest its intent through them allows the angelic orders they represent to fluidly change, whilst they do not. So you can see deep down within your own processes, as we align with all of these shifts and change, the fluidity that's necessary. Okay, so a friend of mine posted something today, and I just took a look at it in a different definition. And I want to just define the ascension attitudes that will allow us to create a more fluid state of being, will also dissolve the old frequencies of the old. But this friend of mine posted like this. She said, in order to be successful at business, one needs to understand 3 things. The first one, you need to be able to make it happen. Number 2, you need to be able to sell it for what it is. And number 3, you need to look after the money that comes. She says that no one is great at all 3 things. And if we cannot learn to cooperate and coordinate, we will rarely be successful. So I'm just changing the statement into how the eternal ascension values and qualities of love and praise and gratitude are those 3 things, is that We need to understand the depth of it and be able to coordinate all of them together in order to be successful in creating a state of fluidity. Otherwise, we'll be left wanting. We'll be left in a state where we are still trying to manifest on an external level. So please look at this comment that I'm making very, very carefully over the week ahead and see love, praise, gratitude. And of course, we've got the fourth one that has come in about 2.5, 3 years ago, the aspect of trust. I work on that fully all the particular time, but we need to be able to coordinate all of these. And these become the cornerstone of all the work. They are eternal, ever evolving, and as we learn to manifest, then fluidity begins to approach with it. So let's just talk about the symptoms of this huge shifts that we are going. I told you earlier that I would highlight some of the physiological and emotional changes. Let's look at them, because Almin very rarely goes into the depth of any of these processes. But of course, I'm reading these out from somebody else's work online, so it might be from their perception. But when I read it, I could not believe the boxes that I had to check each particular aspect of it, because day by day I'm experiencing all of these. And my work all the time is to make sure that they're not a reality, that they are illusion, and yet they are there, they are present, and I have to work through them all, but not give an identity to it. So huge work is going, but let's look at this. This is the symptoms of energy shift. It's an online column written by somebody called Conscious Reminder, and it was written earlier this particular year. Excuse me. They say, as we are heading into this new age, new energies are encompassing our bodies and are reflected in various physiological symptoms. Within the transition of the ages, many people are beginning to feel a lot of these energy shifts on a regular basis, and our bodies are adjusting and upgrading to the higher frequency. So my fortune again is that I'm in contact with many of you from around the world, and some of us have many chats about these particular things. The first symptom that is going to be mentioned, and I won't go into the full depth of the comment that's made with it, we can always send you this link if you like, headaches. And it's about when the crown chakra opens or expands, it creates an intense and painful experience. Sometimes it feels like a spike or rod is being inserted. Apparently women seem to experience them more than men. Well, I've had a lot of those as well. These are caused by too much energy flowing through the crown chakra and by hormonal changes which occur when the chakras are stimulated. Flu-like symptoms. Well, I've had flu-like symptoms for most of the year. Sometimes knocks me man down a little bit for a day or two. I know many of you light creators and light bringers around the world are also feeling like that. It can be absolutely exhausting. But the flu-like symptoms are quite common and part of the process. The suggestion here by this author is just write it out. Don't take antibiotics, which will only prolong the process, because we are purging after all. These symptoms are caused by the physical body's reaction to the toxins that are released when the chakras began to expand. Also, new beliefs and paradigms are enacting the imprinted consciousness in our blood cells, and these old paradigms become toxic to the physical system. And at the same time, we have to learn how to carry and support these particular things. So a lot of confusion around if we're not careful. The next one, nausea, loose bowel movements, diarrhea, also very, very strong. Some people find today, tomorrow, complete purging on a physical level, and great deal of nausea as the liver and kidney take place. Remember, stored fear such as anger and resentment held in these areas are going to be releasing, and a lot of family issues come up at the same time. Muscle aches and joint pain. Well, a lot of people are complaining about that. They're saying they're feeling old and battling to walk. I know sometimes I get out of bed in the morning, it takes me a couple of steps to actually just go, oh my gosh. And then the old belief system is, oh, I'm old now, has got to be worked on immediately. But these are just about increasing your vibration, and this forces energy through the body. When there are blockages impeding the energy flow, this raised and forced energy slams into the muscles and the joints and causing these symptoms. Depression, very, very big state of it. People are very, very confused on a lot of level. It's a very common symptom caused by an increased rate of vibration. The higher frequency forces any illnesses, viruses or infections hiding in the body to surface. And then to discover this root cause, we have got to examine our beliefs and decisions that are creating our reality. Remember the Almin clip that we played about who is creating your reality about 3 months ago. It's also very important to monitor your internal dialogue, to learn what you are creating for yourself. Crying for no reason, feeling emotionally vulnerable, depressed, all of that goes together. blockages from this lifetime and other lifetimes begin to release the emotional body, and reactions will occur. Trying to control or resist these urges further represses and oppresses you and blocks the energy, making things more difficult. It's actually a cleaning release that is going on, so please honor what goes with that and don't define what is right and wrong. There's fluttering, pain in the heart area, breathing problems. I have to remind myself daily to sit and breathe. Nice to see that some of the Almin family are creating classes in Arasatma breathing, so a reminder that those tools are available for us. So remember that the heart chakra begins to open and enlarge to receive more energy, and of course there's a physiological response. Just relax and adjust the energy flow. I find quite often I just have to learn to let go and breathe for a few minutes, and everything then normalizes. Big one for me, hot flashes and night and day sweats. Just suddenly I can be sitting in one space and this huge hot flash comes through me. And Nika also, sometimes we see that going on. Yeah, commonly experienced in both men and women, by the way. Also, some men might be experiencing fat being stored in the body. Feels like they are growing breasts on some level as well. Mothering issues and all sorts of things are coming out at the same time, and we are working on all of this. Don't be concerned about it. Extreme tiredness, big one for me. We wake up in the morning, struggle to get out of bed after a full night of sleep, or falling asleep in the middle of the afternoon is common. I like that. This is caused when energy is shifting throughout the whole spiritual body, and of course it's taking an immense amount of energy to handle the new vibration and the new frequency which are manifesting. The suggestion is to drink lots of water, crystallized water, etc., and doing light physical exercise. Well, I kind of started that this week, but the whole gym fell apart when I arrived there. They couldn't believe what they'd seen. Excessive energy sometimes is the opposite of what we are seeing. We are encompassing all the different experiences. So sometimes we just get up and we are going, and then the next moment we'll stop and absolutely exhausted. There seems to be we're running on all different levels. Weight gain is a very common complaint amongst people. The body does feel like it's being invaded, so it adds a layer of protection. So if you're a light worker, well, you'll be listening to the show then additional water is needed to create the energy and create fluidity and flow. Remember, the DNA is also shifting and holding different processes. Another one coming up, I see amongst many of us, losing our memory, feeling spacey, very frightening experience, because if you can't remember what you had for dinner, or even if you had dinner, etc., don't worry, you're not losing your memory. Areas of the brain are being activated to cope with the higher energies coming in, and being able to handle and work with the different frequencies. Sometimes it is hard to speak. Words come out jumbled or garbled, and the situation will pass. But I don't think there's a time limit on this for all of us. We have spoken about this on the show. We're creating new languages, and it's amazing. Sometimes you can't make sense to in the words that you are actually explaining, but somebody then understands it perfectly. Have you also noticed how your words can trail off in the middle of something? I have to work hard on the show to make sure it doesn't happen, because my focus shifts all over the show. So I have to pay special attention during the hour of the show just to be able to work and not... Well, there you go. I lost it. Not really. Okay, extreme sensitivity. As we open up to higher vibration, lots of things we'll become sensitive to, especially to people in the chaos around us, noises, lights, smells, tastes, and all sorts of things. This affects the central nervous system, and so we need to take care of that. Vitamin B and things like that can really help us. Some people are reporting that they are blowing light bulbs, electronics around them is all going down, etc., etc. Other discussions about sun flares and that can come into it in various factors, but for us, just understand that as part of the symptom. Congratulations. You're really reaching a very high vibratory rate, even if you have to replace your electronics and light bulbs. Animals also either absolutely love you or back off immediately, and they either want to be around you fully or they just disappear for a little while. And let them just do what they need to do. They will adjust. Food changes, very much so. Coffee, tea, and meat are three of the dietary changes that people begin to make as they start to vibrate on a higher and faster level. Meat is especially dense and can really affect the body's energy, especially if it has hormones in it. You may develop cravings for certain foods or go off your favorite foods. You know what I've seen as well online is that the fight between the vegans and the vegetarians is now growing and growing. On different panels, I belong to some vegan Facebook groups, and I'm having to unsubscribe now because the absolute level of processes as people try to find an identity of what is right and wrong within it all. And more people are becoming vegetarian, more people are becoming vegan. But then it seems that everybody has a point to prove. It's fascinating watching as everybody tries to define who is what and what is right. And I just think we need to find our own way and honor our own bodies and just work on that. So all this physiological makeup changes are all happening, speeding up, lots of temporary physical symptoms that are occurring. We've been through them all along the way. Also take care of your immune system at the same time. So there we go. Lots of those particular things that are going on. Yeah. Just reading the next part that we're coming up. Let's talk a little bit now about the new Tablets of Fire, a dream within the infinite dream. You all know Nico. He often handles our sound desk. He's just come into the studio to chat a little bit about some of the dreams he's been having. And then we'll just talk about this audio that's coming up from Almeen there. So welcome to the show. Welcome in studio this time, Nico.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice to have you in here on the other side of the glass. So it's quite interesting that we're sitting here together in the studio and there's no one handling the sound desk. We're all an automated running, and hopefully that will continue because we know we've had some issues over the last little while on that particular level. But thank you very much for joining us. Earlier this week, for the last 2 weeks, I think you've been dreaming some interesting processes at night during your sleep time. Although you haven't been getting much sleep, they've been pretty intense. So I'd like to invite you just to please explain to us what is going on within the dreams and what you are experiencing.
Okay. What is I would say it's very fascinating for me. In the beginning, I didn't really understand what I was dreaming. Like I said before to Paul, and I don't know if anybody out there is maybe having the same kind of dreams. It's like you close your eyes, but your brain is not sleeping. But at the same time, I feel like I'm running in different dimensions. And it's like I'm sleeping, but I'm not sleeping, and I'm dreaming, but I'm not dreaming. So every night when I go to bed, it's like I start calculating numbers. And I'm sitting with this huge calculator, calculating page after page after page. And I think this has been happening for about a week, 2 weeks almost.
Right.
And as I calculate and I get to the end of a page, I've got to press like the equal button. And every time I press the equal button, the number that's on the calculator is 0.00. So I know we had discussions about dissolving death, and these numbers are frequencies. So I mean, it's fascinating to think that I'm still calculating. And currently sitting with students in my class, I'm teaching, but I can also feel myself calculating somewhere else in a different dimension. And that haven't stopped. So I'm still calculating all the way through. Even sitting here tonight, it feels like I want to sleep, but one part of me is still calculating somewhere in a dimension. So it's quite fascinating.
And then have you come up with any answer as to what you think that 0.00 sum ends up in? What do you feel about that?
I've thought about it. I do believe that when something's dissolved, it disappears. So it's got to come to 0 point or a 0 number. But I can't remember any numbers that I work with in the sense of it's a 9 or an 8, or I just know it's bunches of numbers. It's like stacks of papers you're working
and
with.
codings as well as what I think
Absolutely.
we really spoke about there, you know. And it's always fascinating for me when we have these dreams and we have these experiences, how they align with what is currently coming through the Almeen family and from the seer herself. You know, all of these particular processes.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. What was it that you were seeing? Was it paper or was it tablets?
One part of my dream, the first thing I've seen was tablets, but I was working with paper. Sorry, it sounds confusing. I was working with paper, and the one night it's like I just had a glimpse of, it's almost like I said, amber-looking color kind of tablets, but I can't really describe them well. And the engravings that's on it, I can't actually read it. But I could see them it's sort of a light that was shining on them, but I could see the color was amber. So I wasn't sure what it was that I was seeing, and then we had a discussion and we talked about the tablets. And so I do believe it's connected to the tablets of fire, and because of the dreaming state but not really dreaming state, I think the whole lot is connected. It's like a grid line. Everything's connected somewhere in all the dimensions.
And we also said that, what was interesting on our Belvas Pata Healing South Africa's Facebook page, we created a new introductory video for the header, for the top of the page. And that video is moving, and all of there is just numbers and codings,
That's
which
right.
is like shining through, and then you see Belvaspata
Coming
of
through.
the angels really coming through that particular. And again, I loaded it up without knowing that you were having these dreams. But then as soon as you told me about the dream, then I realized how everything was an absolute
Connected, yeah.
sync along the way. So, and okay, we haven't figured out what the 0.00 is. And it could mean two or three things to me, and I'd just like to discuss that with you. One is that we are creating new alchemical equations and not getting anywhere yet. Or we are dissolving the old, therefore it comes to 0, so we can restart into a higher frequency. I mean, I'd rather go, of course, with the second option in a reality in my own processes in my own head. But it could mean any of those. It's going to be fascinating as Almeen goes into this to go and discover.
And see what comes out of it. I think for me, the 0.00, I was thinking about it a little bit today. We always say there's no beginning, there's no end.
Yeah.
And the 0 reminds me of the cycle that just continues going. So there's no ending and there's no beginning. But it's a continuous cycle. So the 0 could also reflect that for me.
Absolutely, and that you're just building on all of that process the whole time. And I just think there's so many different opportunities here to realize what is going on. But of course, that is coming through you, it's coming through me, it's coming through all our listeners on some level or other, whether we've recognized it or not. But for me, when you shared that dream and it's still ongoing for you, it means that process is still happening.
Yeah,
but of course, we know Almeen and her students are all working on that process as we're going along. So yeah, interesting. We also said that it's like a dream within a dream that you were having.
Yeah.
It's like
definitely.
these, you're walking in this waking dream, but you're still having the other dream that is going on. But a profound moment, otherwise you wouldn't share it.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't come up and say to me, ABC, this is what I'm experiencing. And I think that's the beauty where we're at. We can actually share that and go, oh, look at all of this. It gets very exciting for us to know that we're part of that whole big cosmic unfolding.
Yeah. Because talk about dissolving. I'm trying to think what's the word I'm looking for. Dissolve the illusions. And for me, if I think about death, for me it's always been it's an illusion because we're supposed to live forever. That's how I think about it. But I also look at the pace that we're working at. It's like a never-ending pace.
Yeah.
Like I said in the week, I wake up one morning and I just said, I'm tired of calculations. I can't calculate anymore.
Yeah.
But yet, a week down the line, I'm still calculating. It's still not stopping. It's still that phase that's going, or that fast pace we're living in.
And then on the same level, one of the students within the school here has a problem in one of their subjects, which is CAT, or Computer Application Technology, and how you've had to sit up all night to actually get all of those together and put them onto a path where he can actually start to pass in his subject. And I think that's all incredibly related.
No, I definitely think they're connected.
The alchemy of that technology, how we apply it in our lives.
That is technology.
Yeah, very, very. And it is. I think we need to understand science and spirituality is completely merged, and we might not have fully realized it yet. For me, science still has to try to prove a point in order for it to exist. And spirituality is just simply, let us unfold what is coming up. And I think as we get to those points, we'll see something else then.
Yeah, but also technology change daily. We used to only hear of changes maybe once a week, once a month.
Or a year, or
Now
whatever it was.
Especially working with the computer application technology with him, I see daily new things coming up, new things I've never heard of. So that's also fascinating, the birth of something new.
The metaphysics of the process is really fascinating. So there you go, everyone. Thanks, Nico. Thanks for joining us. I know you're going to go play us a new audio from Almeen. And thanks for joining us. Great insight there. So for our listeners, please refer to last week's show where Almeen was speaking about the tablets of fire, and it was from her Ohio retreat in July. She was giving a discourse on that particular aspect of, what was unfolding. And someone there was asking her, really, where was it coming from? And she said it's coming from the future. But of course, then all of these events that are coming together now will unfold, whatever that is. And we need to do that as a family, as a group, and it will be coming through us. So please use our Facebook, use whatever it is that you need to do to share all of those and just put it all into one space, because as we add it all together, then different things particularly unfold. So the audio that we're going to listen to was just published a few days ago. It's called A Dream Within the Infinite's Dream. It's a video, but we've turned it into an audio, obviously, recorded at the recent retreat in Ohio, as I mentioned. And Almin here touches upon the tablets of fire from the future and expands upon the metaphysics of our having fallen asleep within a dream, and that's within a dream of the infinite. Well, there's definitely an awakening happening, and I think you can all agree to that on so many different levels. Let's listen to this here now as she talks about how we've fallen asleep, and of course we are reawakening again.
You said we came from the future and that everything we're doing here in this moment, we already know.
Okay, when I said we came from the future, when was this?
Today.
Today, I
Yesterday?
said the tablets came from the future.
I thought you said...
Sorry, no, that
Okay,
wouldn't
well,
make sense.
anyway, maybe I feel I came from the future.
See, remember, because you were given you were given tablets, and I actually gave much of this information for you. That
Yeah, I wasn't talking about...
it's very rare for us to even get tablets we want to open. And these tablets, I thought, well, why are there tablets? Because nobody can really write for us. But it was ourself writing in the future and sending the tablets back because we had missed some steps. And there was something about the future vision of being able to perception, to see properly, that was hindered because of something we missed. So the tablets are trying to teach us how to live these truths.
But we wrote the tablets?
Yes.
In the future.
In the future.
But with saying that, my high truth is I feel I've never left the infinite. And this is just a hologram. So I can change it any way I want.
It is. That's because there are degrees of realness. So let's say you go to sleep. Okay, let's just say our beloved Judy over there goes to sleep. By the way, Judy, glad to see you, my love. Let's say Judy goes to sleep and has a dream. Okay, but within the dream, she dreams that she's having another dream. So she dreams that she's asleep, and in that sleep, she has another dream. This is a little bit like how it's been. The infinite dreamed its creations on a stage, right? This is the cosmos where they're going to play out certain things of self-discovery. A portion of those creations, such as humans, is a dream within a dream. So we have been in this dream within a dream, which is more unreal than to be dreamed in by the infinite. So we are stepping out of the human's dream because it's a mess. It's a nightmare, actually. And we are creating our own dream, a home in which we feel comfortable in. Now, this has happened. You're asking a very deep question. The thing is, did we originate in this dream? No, we didn't. We originated as a creation of some sort, perhaps another type of dream, but we created and were by the infinite side when the dream of the cosmic individuation began. Right. So, is Judy still there, even though she dreams she left for Mexico? Yes, she is. It's just that in her dream, she's not there. She left for Mexico. But she's still in her bed. So are we still with the infinite? Yes, we are. And then we had the dream, and then within that dream, another dream arose. And it's the human dream of duality. So, yes, we are still with the infinite. Honey, we can change it because we're lucid dreamers. A lucid dreamer can control his dream. And lucid dreaming required that we step out of that human dream. So you're just calling it by a different name than a dream image. You're just calling it a hologram. So you are right, yes. We're just using different words. Yeah, you're right. That's extremely deep, love. I'm going to go home and think of that one.
And there the Seer Almeen was discussing a dream within the infinite's dream. But of course, saying at the end of it, she would have to go home and think about it. We can expect a lot more coming out of all of that. But what we were sharing earlier with Nika and his dream, and of course, where you've been dreaming, please tell us all about that as we're going along. It'll be absolutely fascinating. But I can see that science and spirituality have merged, and we've now created the state of immortality. As Darshana is busy telling me, on another process altogether, it seems that the button has been reset and we've got new opportunities in new ways and new frequencies of living. Absolutely incredible. Last week we spoke about the release of the speciality, modality and protocol for Balvaspatar healing of cancer, or the treatment of cancer. And we were saying last week that the world is now ready to see beyond that paradigm. So different frequencies are coming, otherwise we wouldn't have these things emerging up within humanity for us to work and then for us to dissolve and then to move forward from. But new articles coming up. Death does not exist. It's just an illusion. Scientists are looking at it all and working within parallel universes. Fascinating insights, but far too much for us to get into for tonight's show. I'd like to just say that we will be discussing this next week, and we're going to also be discussing next week more information, more audio from the Seer about how death was created. That's just come up on Almeen Diary today, so we'll talk about all of that. Right, so we've reached the end of a show. I'd just like to tell you a little bit about what is coming up next week for us. Almeen's weekly prediction, September the 25th, so in the 4 days going, Seeds of New Grass Slumber, it's called, Rune 8.48. It's explained as, do not allow the bad news of a destructuring society to taint your vision with pessimism. Under a blackened field ravaged by fire, the seeds of new grass slumber, awakened by your glad expectations. The earth is the cradle of civilization. It is the abode of the source of life. It will not be allowed to perish. So that's coming up for us. You can see a big shift in the dynamics, a big shift in our perspective, a big shift in our vision of the processes, and that will all come through the inner work that we're doing. And as we see ourselves in the bigger picture, let's take ourselves back to that point where we don't have to create anything that's not authentic. We don't have to create anything that cannot sustain us. We do not have to manifest anything on a physical level. We just need to work on ourselves, trust fully, move into the business of being in love, being in praise, and being in gratitude in its fullest, and allowing all of those things to manifest. I am eternally grateful for having learned the modality of Balvaspatar and still being part of that journey as we're going along. Absolutely beautiful. The author and healer Matt Licata tells us, right in the middle of falling apart and holding it together is the secret essence. Stay there. It is here where the light and the dark are in union, where integration and disintegration emerge as one in love, and where lunar and solar are weaving the substance of the sacred world. And I'd like to finish off with that. I'd like to say thank you to Nika for being in studio and also still handling the sound desk. Superb stuff that is going on there. Truly appreciative of it. Remember, you're changing, you're not dying, so don't allow those thoughts to come up. Simply allow, relax, rest, and allow things to come up. We started with magic, abundance, supply, and manifestation. Almeen singing I Yearn for You, and that's going to be our music really that we have come up with today. Please remember it and enjoy it. Million thanks to all of you for listening. I am in gratitude for each one of you and for sharing, and I'm honored to be part of our light family and also being able to run what I need to run within myself. Thank you, everyone. Let's live a meaningful, established life beyond superficiality, and let's be the ones who arrive in that state of authenticity as best as we can in the week ahead. May you all know love, praise and gratitude. May you live in trust. We'll see you same time, same place. Radio Belvaspatar South Africa signing out. Good night.
You've been listening to Radio Belvaspatar South Africa. Thank you for listening and sharing in our discussion. Should you have any questions with regards to the healing modality of Belvaspatar or have any healing needs, please send us an email to info@belvaspatar.co.za or add comments to our page on Spreaker.com so we can work on providing a suitable response. We now close this episode with the eternal ascension qualities of love, praise, gratitude and trust, and look forward to sharing again with you next week. Goodbye.